Hey, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we want to talk about deceptive technologies, why they exist, what they are, and of course, how to use them today in your Microsoft security stack. First off, let's understand what they are, right? And why they exist. So think you're a black hat, an attacker trying to, of course, infiltrate a network or trying to gain access to more resources in a network. You can, of course, naturally, you can attack user accounts, so you can try to spoof or try to move laterally with spoofed accounts, or, of course, if you are lucky enough, you might even be in part of a network, and of course, you might try to access a host yourself. So you might try to remote login or attempt to log in into a host that you've learned of the existence. So whenever we think of malicious techniques to do so, of course, they're going to have access to legitimate user and legitimate host information. And that is the concern for us. How do we find them out in their tracks before they actually get to exploit an actual user account and an actual host? So one of the ways to do so is to, instead of relying on actual user real fake accounts and of course only having real host names, is to plant fake user accounts and fake host names or hosts in your network. So these are called decoy accounts and decoy hosts. So whenever you instead of having an actual user here, you'd have a decoy, and I'm just painting them yellow to make it a little different, but you'd have a decoy user account and a decoy host. What these decoys do is they essentially are planted by a platform that monitors them, and if there's ever activity behind them, your backend team and likely, of course, your cybersecurity team are going to get alerted, right? So if there's any monitor or any activity against these particular artifacts, they're going to generate an alert into your SOC platform. So be that your SIEM or be that your XDR platform, like with Defender XDR, for example. So that is the whole point. So if this attacker at the end of the day tries to attack this user account, or of course tries to access this host name here, you're going to get alerted. And that's why they exist and what they are there for. Of course, naturally, when you get an alert, you're going to be able to remediate and going to be able to look for and start an investigation against this particular threat actor that is potentially lurking in your network. So that is the whole point. It triggers an investigation before the attack goes even further in the cyber queue chain. Great. So now that we understand what these technologies exist for, let's have a look at what's available for you and of course what the industry talks about. So before I talk about how Microsoft is doing it since Ignite, I actually want to touch on how NIST sees deception technologies. In the deception technology market, because there are a lot of cybersecurity vendors that already are specialized in cybersecurity technologies. In this market, we're going to find very prominent vendors that already have some very good documentation on how NIST is doing this. For example, what I'm bringing to you right now is a company called Countercraft. They are one of these vendors. They are specialized in deception technology. What they come up with is this very good article here in a blog talking about how NIST documents and highlights deception technology in a couple of their special publications. This particular blog calls out NIST special publication 800-172 and 800-160. And according to this blog, this particular special publications, they do have excerpts that touch on the value of deceptive technologies for cybersecurity programs. For example, I'm going to call out 3 of them here. The first value that deception technologies get you in your cybersecurity program, according to NIST, is, of course, it wastes adversary time and resources. The second value it gets in your program is lowers the adversary efficacy and own ability to gather intel. And lastly, it stops the adversary in the middle of the cyber queue chain, buying you the defender time to react. And like I showcased before, it of course might trigger an investigation way before an actual malicious artifact is found at the end of their cyber queue chain. So it has a lot of value for investigation, but also for mitigation capabilities. Going back to what Microsoft has released and what it's communicating currently as part of Ignite 2023, it's announced the availability of deception tactics within Defender XDR. So this is available, and I'm going to touch on the documentation later, but this is available for Microsoft Defender for Endpoint Plan 2 customers and for Microsoft 365 E5 customers. So anyone that has access to Defender for Endpoint Plan 2 can make use of this feature right here. So you understand the benefit. Microsoft is laying out here in a very nice graphic why it's important according to the cyber queue chain and what it can help mitigate. So deception techniques here that are available today, such as fake credentials with hosts and lures, and even detection of using fake credentials, hosts, and lures can help you find an attacker before they go further into their lateral movement, go further into your network, particularly malicious software in your environment, such as ransomware. Whenever one of these alerts from this particular technology are generated, you're going to see this all tagged in your environment, in your Microsoft Defender XDR platform, and this is going to be called out by the platform here with a deceptive alert, right? So the alert is going to have the deceptive name in it. So it's going to be really clear to your team that this is actually looking at a deceptive or a decoy account or host name, and this is going to make it easy for your team to understand what they're dealing with. What I wanted to do next is to go through the overview. This is all well documented currently, so you can have a look at what the requirements are. So this document here, you're going to find this in the description of the video, but you're going to be able to find the requirements and of course how to get started. So to get started, all you need to do is to go to security.microsoft.com. You need to be a security administrator or global administrator. If you are not an administrator, you're not even going to see the checkboxes to enable the feature. Okay, that's very important. Now, once you're there as a security admin or global admin, you need to go to settings and then endpoints. Under advanced features, you're going to need to enable the checkbox. A couple of checkboxes actually. So the first one that is important is a checkbox for preview features, because this is a preview feature. Well, the preview features here at the bottom. Okay. And then secondly, you need to enable the deception toggle here. And as I said before, if you're not a security administrator, you're not even going to see any of these options, or you're not even going to see the deception option at least, right? But once you enable that and save the preferences, after a few minutes, you're going to see the deception rules option here on the left-hand side. Under deception rules, that's where you can configure your deception rules. What are these rules and why would you have more than one? Well, essentially, you can have rules with different scopes for devices that you're planting your artifacts on, and of course you can deploy different artifacts. So for example, let me go through the default rule which I enabled in my environment, and it's still deploying. So when I go into edit of this particular rule, you can see the lure types. So we have basic or advanced lure types. Basic types are documents, link files, and other files containing decoy information that attackers might utilize. And advanced are essentially plant cached credentials and inject responses to Active Directory queries with decoy information that attackers might utilize. So once you chose what kind of lure types are going to be part of this rule, you go to next. You then choose the rule scope. So what devices will these be planted on? And be mindful that currently only Windows devices are supported. And then you can get to choose whether you want to plant this lure to plant lures on all Windows clients, or if you want to specify devices with specific tags. So this is useful if you have a narrow scope of devices that you want to plant lures on, and that you know that your program follows that. Whenever there are specific alerts in those devices, you're going to be aware of the context there. Next up is the decoys. So you can plant decoys, or the system actually recommends a number of decoys for you. What you're seeing on screen is all recommended by the platform. I didn't create any of them. you can see that the platform already recommends 5 accounts, 5 decoy accounts, and 5 decoy hosts for us, but you could add more here if you wanted. So when you click on account, you can see what you can customize on fake accounts. Essentially use alias, first name and last name. And for hosts, you can customize the IP address. And what's really important is whenever you're adding fake and decoy accounts and hosts, the recommendation from the platform is that you don't utilize actual user account names or people names or actually host names, because they can lead to false positive alerts for your environment. So be mindful of that. Once you've added the decoy accounts and hosts that you want, you go to lures. At this point, you have to choose whether you want to let the system auto-generate lures, like what you're seeing on screen, or whether you want to customize lures. So when you customize lures, it's essentially you're uploading files that you know are fake data. That's very exciting thing, because you can customize this really well for your environment. For example, if you are a financial institution and you want to fake data of particular financial transactions, you can create a fake file with fake data and of course upload as a new lure in a specific scoped kind of environment. So think you have a specific set of users or a set of devices that would perhaps be valuable for attackers. What you can do is plant specific lures in those devices that would contain this enticing data in there. So then you can upload files up to a maximum of 10 megabytes. And be mindful that these lures can be executables, DLL files, so anything that would be interesting for attackers. So that's quite interesting, a way to customize this here for your environment. In my environment, I used auto-generated lures, and you don't get to choose a lot when you do that. Now, once this is all done, you can just click on save. And once you save, you're going to be taken back to the deception rules list, and you need to turn on that rule. Okay, so that's important. So once you edit the rule, you need to come into the rule, and then there's a button here to turn on. Make sure you turn it on. And of course, it's going to take a few hours for it to deploy. According to your documentation, it takes from 12 to 24 hours to deploy this. I can see that it could take even more depending on what kind of devices you're rolling that out to. So be mindful, it's going to take a few hours for it to be rolled out. But the takeaway is the features available right now. Just make sure if you have access to MDE and if you have specific devices in your environment that you can test this on, by all means, you should get started. And if you have more curiosity or want to learn more about this, Microsoft has a couple of nice announcements and pages that you should definitely refer to. With that all said, I'd like to thank you for your time. Hopefully you found this informative. And if you did, please leave a like and, of course, subscribe for more of this content. All right, see you next time.